sugar. Cupid, I better knock on wood. You can call out my name. Please don't go.
All my wishes.
Make the money.
I'm in love with Peep Down Memory Lane because it's very educative and very informative. Keep on listening.
Today's history is on Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born in 1918 in a small village in the Transkei region of South Africa. His father was a chief of the Timbos tribe. Mandela's parents named him Rolihlahla, an African word that means troublemaker. Little did they know how fitting his name would be. At the age of 7, Mandela became the first person in his family to go to school. At school, Mandela was given the name Nelson. He went on to attend college and earned a law degree in the city of Johannesburg. Nelson Mandela, a boy from an African village, grew up to become the first black president of South Africa. Before he became president, Mandela led a long and difficult struggle against segregation in South Africa. Under segregation, black and white people were kept apart. Segregation denied blacks many basic rights. Mandela spent many years in prison for trying to end segregation in South Africa. When Mandela was a young man, South Africa was divided by segregation. Segregation in South Africa was called apartheid, a word that means apartness. Under apartheid, black, whites couldn't live together. Under apartheid, black people couldn't vote or hold certain jobs. Whites controlled the government. Blacks and whites lived in separate areas and went to different schools. Mandela opposed this cruel and unfair system. In 1944, Mandela joined a group called the African National Congress, ANC. The ANC opposed the rule of South Africa by whites alone. The ANC believed that South Africa belongs to everyone, whatever the color of their skin. Mandela was a natural leader and a gifted speaker. He became a leader in the ANC and he encouraged people to break the apartheid law. The government saw Mandela as a troublemaker. He tried to stop him. The government made the ANC illegal. Mandela was arrested several times. When he was released, he continued to fight for an end to apartheid. In 1962, the government sentenced Mandela to 5 years in prison. Then in 1964, he was accused of working to overthrow the government. The government increased Mandela's sentence to life in prison. The government sent Mandela to a prison off the coast of South Africa on Robben Island. The prison conditions were harsh. Mandela was allowed only one visitor every 6 months. Every day he was forced to break rocks in the prison yard for many hours. During this time, Mandela became the world's most famous political prisoner. Leaders around the world demanded Mandela's freedom. They wanted apartheid in South Africa to end. In 1982, the government moved Mandela to a prison on the mainland. This was during a time of growing violence in South Africa. Many people protested in the streets against apartheid. The government began secret talks with Mandela. They believed that if anyone could stop the trouble, Mandela could. He was a popular leader who had won the support of many South Africans. In 1990, Mandela was released after spending 27 years in prison. The government lifted the ban on the ANC. Mandela became its leader in 1992. Mandela soon began talks with the government aimed at ending apartheid. Many white people worried about giving black equal rights. Mandela worked with South African President F.W. de Klerk to promote peaceful relationship between blacks and whites. For their effort, Mandela and de Klerk won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. In 1994, South Africa held elections for the first time in South Africa's history. Men and women of all races could vote. Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. He brought an end to the hated apartheid system. After 5 years as president, Mandela retrieved from political office. He returned to live in the Transkei region where he grew up. Nelson Mandela died at the age of 95 after battling a recurring lung infection. Nelson Mandela died at his home in Johannesburg on December 5, 2013, at the ripe age of 95. Nelson Mandela's body was laid to rest in the family plot after political and religious leaders paid tribute to the South African's first black president at a state funeral service. On 15 December 2013, Mandela was buried in Kono in the Eastern Cape town of South Africa, where he attended primary school. This is calling on all to help keep the legacies of Nelson Mandela alive, his dream against apartheid, the fight for freedom, against discrimination of any kind.
Sugar, Cupid, I better knock on wood. You can call out my name. Please don't go.
All my wishes.
I'm in love with Peep Down Memory Lane because it's very educative and very informative. Keep on listening.